Welcome back to the New England Endurance Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a local cycling legend in the New England community. He's also an amazing wheel builder, an entrepreneur, and he's a former professional cyclist who I believe raced in the Tour of Italy, otherwise known as the Giro. His name is Justin Spinelli. Welcome, Justin, to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So a little more background about Justin. So he raced for the U.S. national team, and then he went over to Europe sometime in the early 2000s, and we're going to hear all about that. He raced cyclocross for the infamous Richard Sachs team. And so now he's the founder and lead wheel engineer for Gruppo Spinelli. It's his own company, otherwise known as Luxe Wheelworks. It's based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I'm starting to see a lot of riders on the group rides that I go on riding these Luxe wheels. They're absolutely gorgeous. We're going to get into how he builds those and how he designs them. But after, a 15-year period of honing his craft and gaining experience as a technician, he's relaunched Luxe Wheelworks. Some of you might think like, oh, I've heard of Luxe many years ago, but he's relaunched it this time with the fresh insights and a team behind him. And today's episode, we're going to dive into his cycling journey, both as an elite racer and now as a wheel craftsman. So, Justin, I'm super excited to chat with you today. And I think some folks in our community will be excited to hear what you have to say as well. I was going to kick it off just by having you take us back a bit. We're always curious on this show how elite endurance athletes become elite endurance athletes. Did they start off in ball sports? How did you get into cycling? I think you're a New England kid. Where did you grow up? Can you just take us from the beginning?
Yeah, so the beginning, I suppose, would be when I was 14, living in Nashua, New Hampshire, working as a bike mechanic. Or I wouldn't say I was a bike mechanic yet, but I started working at a bike shop at the age of 14, Goodale's Bike Shop in Nashua, New Hampshire. So
Nice.
yeah, it was a really big, well-run bike shop, and I just about begged the manager for a job there. I went down every day, after school, and asked him if I could have a job. And because I was really intrigued by bicycles, and I wasn't really riding them so much. I mean, I guess as a child growing up in the '90s, we would ride our bikes all over the place, but I wasn't doing anything formal at the time.
Yeah.
And
Some BMX action?
I had a little BMX bike. My first really cool bike was a Cannondale M400.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. I remember those. Those are tough to get.
yeah, we had a dealer for Cannondale in New England, in New Hampshire at the time. I love the big oversized tubes and super stiff and light and strong. Yeah, I got into bikes as a bike mechanic, not as a bike rider or racer.
So what drew
After
you to racing?
yeah, so I worked at the shop. I employee purchased a specialized stump jumper, and I just started riding it every day. And, I started getting cycling clothing, and then, upgrading my bike with certain parts, and really kind of starting to get into the performance side of things. And a coworker at the bike shop who was a racer, after we rode together on a little bit of a group ride, he suggested I started racing.
All right. You must have dropped him.
Not quite, but I could keep up almost. He was like an expert level racer, and I was a novice. So, but he took me around to all the races in like a VW Vanagon, the summer of my going into my senior year in high school. And the whole, adventure side of bike racing was really appealing to me. And I just didn't want to stop after that.
So did you, as you were coming up the ranks, and I'm curious how you landed on the national team, did you have a mentor to sort of guide you through this process?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough to be on the New England Cycling Support Association junior racing team, otherwise known as NEXA. So Marco Wise, spearheaded that team, and we had Richard Sachs as a frame sponsor.
Nice.
So, Richard fit me to my bike, and I had a coach, Adam Nissen, who ex-Marine and super, super good coach. We worked together really well. He trained me to the point where I was ready to start qualifying for events for the US national team, or at least to get into the qualifying camps. So we did the regional training camps and qualification camps at Mike Frazee's up in New York, and Betsy Davis was one of the more important coaches there that trained me first going into my first year in college. That winter as a freshman in college was my first big training season, like really training hard.
So you race collegiately as well?
No, there was no collegiate race team there.
Okay.
I didn't do that. I was just going to the New England races. I mean, I should say I started as a Cat 5, and within 2 years, I was a Cat 1.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
extreme. So for folks out there that maybe aren't familiar with this, Cat 5 is sort of a novice. You just get started. And most of us, the vast majority, don't get past a Cat 4 or Cat 3 level. So to then make it to Cat 2 and even Cat 1 is absolutely phenomenal. And you're in rarefied air. So that's where Justin was at. And so you make the national team sometime in your early 20s.
No, I was 18
You were 18. Oh,
going
wow.
on. Yeah. Yeah. My race age was 19, though. So I was technically an under 23 racer.
Got it. Okay, cool. So now you're on the national team. You have this tremendous support network. Like, how did you get tapped on the shoulder to get to Europe? Were you first part of a continental team, sort of a US based team, before you made that jump?
Yeah. So that's a complicated question to answer.
Okay.
So I was a core member of the US national team, 98 and 99, a world championship road race team member. And so we were training at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and we'd fly over to Europe in the spring and the fall to do our race campaigns. I did fairly well as an under 23 in Europe, and my trade team that second year on the US national team in the fall, I did a stage year for Team Mercury.
What did you call it?
It was Team Mercury.
No, what did you said what year? A
Oh,
stage year?
oh yeah, yeah. So a stage year is like a
Stage?
tryout. It's a
Oh,
tryout
okay.
for a pro team, and pro,
Interesting.
yeah, that the window for that opens up in late August sometime. It's still done in the pro calendar, and pro teams are allowed to have 2 stagiaires to try out in hopes to join the full-time team for the year after.
Okay.
So it's like a tryout.
Got it.
Yeah, so I did a tryout for Team Mercury, which was one of the largest domestic pro teams at the time. And my tryout race was Tour de l'Avenir, which was the under 25 Tour de France
Yeah.
back then. And we had Floyd Landis on the team. Yeah, and Floyd got, I think it was second overall. So that got us a lot of notoriety as a team. So I got some attention there. And then so going into spring of 2000, I was racing for the Mercury team. I was winning and domestically all the under 23 category races and racing with the pros while doing so, because it was kind of like individually
Yeah.
classified. I was doing really well racing against the pros at 20 years old.
That's incredible. And the thing is, so just from my perspective, I started racing in 98, 99, and I started to hear your name around like 2000, this Justin Spinelli kid. And then next thing I know, you're on TV. And maybe I skipped a step here, but so what happened after Mercury?
So there was this team in Holland. Okay, they're called Farm Friets.
Yep, I remember
And
Farm Frites.
okay, great. Yeah, they're
Yep.
probably better known as a successor to TVM. TVM was probably the more popular, well-known team. But anyways, they were ranked second in the world at the time, huge world tour team, and they had to let a rider go that spring.
Wow.
So they had a spot open up on their squad, and through connections that I had in Los Angeles, because that's where I was living and training for Mercury, Team Farm Frites wanted to sign me because they heard of my results and they knew me from racing in Europe years
Yeah.
prior as under 23. So I was
And at
still
this
under 23.
and at this point, are you dropping out of college? to do this?
I abandoned college in 90, going into 99. Yeah, to
Okay.
race, once, I mean, my parents were so happy that I had something that I was really interested in.
Yeah.
And I was on the US national team, and, the US national team was paying for everything and supporting me really well. They were happy to let me follow my dream.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Wow. Okay. So farm frites, let's pick it up there.
Okay, Farm Freaks, I fly over. It's spring. They signed me. They didn't, they signed me in springtime. So they're a classics team, but the Tour of Italy was coming up. So all their classics team riders were tired and wanted a rest. And the team manager had the idea of me at 20 years old, which was very young back then to be in the pro peloton, to have me do the Tour of Italy. My first race with the team and my first real race as a pro.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Looking back.
So the Italian teams have been training for the Tour of Italy since like the year prior, in December.
Yeah.
And I just showed up on a whim and they want me to do the Tour of Italy. So they asked me, and you can't say no to that.
Yeah.
I couldn't say no.
So, okay. There's a lot here to unpack. Did you survive the Tour of Italy?
They wanted to see if I would survive day one. Okay. And I wanted to see if I would survive the whole race.
And what happened?
So I made it to the rest day after stage 12.
Yep.
Stage 12 was a time trial, and I could not get my heart rate above 150. And my max was like 190, 192. So I was trying, but I was not healthy enough to perform.
You were in like a deep state of fatigue.
I was fatigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened? Were they happy that you made it to that stage?
The management was happy. The other riders were jealous. There were bad vibes in the team. But thankfully I was so tired from what I did at the Tour of Italy, I could barely get out of bed for like 3 months. So they weren't racing me a lot. So I wasn't interacting with the team too much after that. I'd say I probably had about 20 or 30 starts after that, which back then was not a lot. I mean, you raced 100 times a year probably.
Wow.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So.
Okay, so then what happened after your stint with them?
So the team actually that year folded. They morphed into Domo Farm Freed. So it was a totally different structure.
Yes, and that's the bike that I had, the Eddie Merckx Domo Farm Freets.
That's a good one.
Scandium.
Yes, the magical aluminum material. Yeah.
Okay, so did you stay around for that team or?
No, I didn't. My contract was with Farm Freets. I signed with Farm Freets, and Farm Freets became no longer the title sponsor. It was Domo. So long story short, I did not stick around. Claudio Corti, the general manager for Team Saeco, saw me in the Tour of Italy. They knew I needed a contract, and Cannondale knew me from racing in America because I was on Cannondale's for an amount of time when I raced for Wheelworks Cannondale as a trade team. And so that all happened. And I was living in Italy at the time, actually. I went with my aunt who lives in Italy. They're in Florence, and that's where I was living when I was racing for Farm Freeds in 2000.
Cool. So you had some, support network there with some family.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was really lucky for that. Otherwise, maybe something else would have happened. But she drove me to the team offices, and she negotiated the contract with Claudio because I wasn't speaking Italian. So, and then like I signed the contract, and there was no reaction from me because I was so struck by the moment of it. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I can't believe this is happening."
What is
Team
wrong
Saeco.
with this American kid? Well, and just for the audience out there, right? Team Saeco back then, I mean, the media followed them everywhere because they had Mario Cipollini. I think they had Cadel Evans and Danilo Di Luca. Did you guys have Gilberto Simoni as well?
Yes.
I mean, so everybody's on this team, and now there's this American kid, Justin Spinelli, and I'm really curious, like, what was your first group ride with them like? Training ride or whatever? Like, how did you get introduced to the team?
Oh, wow. So the first camp was a team presentation camp. So it was a media camp, and it's still basically done that way as far as I know. So the first camp was a media camp. It wasn't a heavy training camp. My first introduction to the team was doing a group ride, a double pace line, casual, and one of the team members who was riding next to Mario Cipollini in the double pace line was talking on his cell phone. And Mario was so upset that this rider would do that. He demanded the cell phone from this rider and he threw it in the woods next to where we were riding.
What?
So that was kind of my introduction to the team.
So you're thinking, oh my, I better fall in line here.
Yeah, Italians are very actually strict and orderly. And that's how the team was run. I mean, everything was super regimented. The leaders led and the followers just followed.
Did you enjoy that?
It made things clear for me. I understood what I had to do.
Yeah. And so did you race the Giro with them as well?
No, no, I
No, with
did
them.
not.
Okay. So how long were you with those guys for?
2 years, 2 years. I signed on a 1 year contract. Okay. So in the pros, they say that almost, if you're good, almost anyone can get a 1 year contract, but it's that second year contract that's hard to get. And
Well, that's phenomenal.
yeah, so that was probably one of my greatest achievements in cycling was to get a second contract with Team Saeco because that means you made it, right?
Wow.
So,
Was there anybody there that sort of took you under their wing?
informally, yes, by virtue of they would room me with Laurent Dufaux, who was, one of the greatest Tour de France riders to come out of Switzerland. And
What was that like?
that was a little intimidating. I mean,
I would say.
he was so seasoned and experienced. I mean, he was involved in the whole Festina affair. He was a high profile rider, and I was watching videos of him racing when I was a junior, just in awe. And there I was rooming with him, but he showed me the things that it took, the habits you need to be ready for the races the next day. And it gave me a lot of confidence that they stuck me with Laurent Dufaux
Yeah.
because it meant that they were investing in me as a rider.
Could you share just with our audience, like, were there any, like, what sort of cool takeaways came from being on that team and rooming with him? Any little nuggets?
Yeah, so I learned a lot that year. I learned how to become a real bike racer. Italy was one of the greatest cycling nations at the time, and I just learned so much. And I learned how to train right. I learned how to eat right and also not eat right. You had to be so light back then. I'm sure it's still the same because in Italy, the races are just like they're all uphill.
Yeah.
It's seemingly. And but I learned how to represent sponsors well.
Yeah. Be a professional.
Yep. Yeah, I learned the importance of maintaining my at-home race equipment.
Hmm.
I learned the importance of dressing for sponsor correct, like at all times. I learned how to travel well, to stay relaxed when you're traveling and not get stressed out. And I learned like what it took to be in a high profile, big stakes environment.
Yeah. Really interesting story. Did they teach you how to suffer on the bike?
I knew how to suffer on the bike.
You already knew how, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's such a cool experience. I mean, I'm sure when I finish the podcast, when we finish today, I'm going to look back at this podcast and be like, oh, I should have asked him this or that. But were there any memorable or wild moments aside from throwing the phone in the woods in the pro peloton that sort of stuck with you even today?
I would say, ironically, one of the moments that really stuck with me was actually when I was doing a race in America for Team Saeco, the San Francisco Grand Prix.
Hmm.
Okay, that was in the fall, and we flew to San Francisco from Italy to do this high profile American race, mainly because our sponsor was Cannondale, and it was an American company. So I'm in really good condition. I was getting pretty good results at that point in my time on Team Saeco. Like I was riding well. So, and I go to the start line with a little ambition. I wanted to have a good race. And I was riding well in the race up until about halfway through. My cassette, my rear gears, or the cassette, starts falling off of the wheel. It comes
No,
loose.
no.
So this cassette is coming loose, and the gears were changed out, not by our Italian mechanics, who were probably some of the best in the world, like they're high profile mechanics, but by the staff that we had on hand, which was pretty much volunteer at the San Francisco Grand Prix. And like, I'm super grateful for the staff, all the staff that I've had throughout my career. But I was pretty pissed off when my cassette started falling off midway through the race, because the cassette starts falling off. I can't ride anymore. The caravan just zooms right past me because there was just like neutral support, and that was it. The race was so fast. It was like a 100-mile criterium up and
Wow.
down the streets of San Francisco. So that was it. My race was over, and I just really drove into me the importance of maintaining your equipment properly. So because
Yeah.
I had a mechanical mind, I always have, but that really drove it home because I wanted a good result in that race and I didn't get it.
Yeah. So then if you hear somebody in like our local group rides with a squeaky chain, that kind of irritates you, right? Like, hey man, go and lube your chain.
Nothing irritates me more than a squeaky chain.
Do you still keep in touch with any of those guys on those European pro teams?
A couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, through Facebook and through like, liking their posts and maybe
Cool.
commenting on something. I'm not like going over there for their birthday or anything like that.
Got it. Yeah. So okay, so we're on the journey here of Justin Spinelli's life, and then so I see you on TV, I hear about you, I hear you're on Team Saeco, and then all of a sudden, like a few years later, I guess I see you racing for Richard Sachs cyclocross team. And did I miss a bunch of years in there? Like, how did all of a sudden you're racing cross at like the same races that many of me and my friends are at? Like, what happened in that time period?
Okay, so I hit major burnout my second year on Team Saeco.
Okay.
I was very young. There was a ton of pressure from the team to perform, and I put a lot of pressure on myself as well. So I just hit a total burnout. I didn't want to do it anymore, and I was so young. And they saw that and I wasn't performing, and like I said, all they really cared was about performance on that team.
They didn't care about like your mental health, well being, or anything.
No, no, they didn't, unfortunately,
Oh,
and
that's
that
too
was
bad.
yeah, that was really an overlooked part of performance back then. And so, yeah, unfortunately for me, I could not keep my head straight and I had to at least step down a level.
Hmm.
So the year after Seiko in 2003, I signed for Team Navigators.
Okay. Yep. I remember that team. They had some good sprinters.
Yeah, yeah, we had some really good riders on that team that were able to get big results domestic racing. They hoped that I would be one of those people, but I wasn't. I rode poorly, and I really only started coming around towards the end of that season, but it was too late at that point. So they didn't offer me a contract for the year after, and I was just didn't know what to do with myself. I decided I should step away from racing and refocus on my education. So a friend of mine at the time who was an artist, she told me I should go into industrial design because I'm not quite the engineer type. I'm not good enough at math to do what a real engineer has to do. But I do have a good idea for a good mind for how things work functionally and how they should be form wise, because form follows function. So to me, it was a very simple equation on how to make a product. So I went to school for industrial design down in Florida,
Oh, wow.
and I was there for a year. I got straight A's. I was absolutely killing it in that program, but I kind of wanted to race bikes again because I was only 23.
So you were getting the love back a little bit.
I missed it. It was
Yeah.
so hard going. I felt like I was like 30 years older than these kids I was going to school with after what I had been through already. I mean, I really went out there, I really saw a lot.
Jeez.
So
So what did you end up doing? Did you stay in school?
I stayed in school part-time. I came back to New Hampshire, came back to my parents' house, went back to work at Goodale's bike shop. I was taking night classes for mechanical drawing,
Yep.
mostly done AutoCAD
Yep.
at
Some
the
AutoCAD.
local.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a local Votech, or the local technical school. And then I applied for some other industrial design programs in Boston. So I moved to Alston, not Alston, which is pretty much Boston. And I'm going to these night classes at Mass Art. And it wasn't the same feel as Florida. It didn't feel like, I also didn't feel like I wanted to really commit to my education at that point. Like I changed my mind. I really had a hard time finding my way after Team Saeco,
Yeah.
you know. So the only thing I knew to do was to be a bike mechanic and race my bike. So that's kind of what I started doing again. 2005, I rode for Target Training, a small New England based team, Connecticut based team. And that gave me the opportunity to get enough racing in my legs to be a professional the year after that. Um,
Yeah. Where'd you end up after that?
so that was Team Nirac.
Team Nirac. Yes.
Yeah,
I remember those kits.
yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
local team.
Local team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. Was Adam on that team? Adam Meyerson?
he was.
Okay. Yeah.
Adam was our sprinter.
Yep.
We had John Hamlin. We had myself. We had so many good, high quality individuals on that team. And
That's awesome.
I was on awesome equipment. I was working at the shop that sponsored the team. I got the opportunity to work on my own bikes a lot of the time, which gave me good peace of mind.
And at this point, you're basically training yourself, right? You don't have a coach.
No, I don't have a coach, but I do have a power meter. And I was one of the early adopters of power meters.
The SRMs.
It was actually called was it the Ergomo?
Okay.
Bottom bracket spindle based power meter.
Nice.
So I flew down to North Carolina to actually install it on my race bike at Gita Bikes.
Wow. What year
Yes,
was this?
2006.
So 2006. Yeah, you're definitely an early adopter. That's cool. So you're basically coaching, training yourself with the power meter. You're having a good time on Team Nirac?
Yeah, it was a pretty good time. It was a pretty good time. It gave me hope that I could keep going, keep
Got your
progressing.
mojo back?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, not 100%. I mean, to be clear, there was a short window in 2007 that everything clicked. And that was the only time during those 4 or 5 years that I was racing in America that I was really on point as a racer. And so that was the 1 month leading up to Philly, leading up to US Pro in 2007. I am absolutely flying. I've never been going faster on a bike than that period leading up to that race. I trained so hard and did everything for cycling and was really proud to be doing everything above board. And I go into Philly, Jonas Carney before the race sits me down. He tells me that I can get a really good result that day. And it gave me a lot of confidence going into the race. Where I am at the front of the race the whole time, the whole day. I've never had a better Philly than this one going into the last lap. I'm by no means a sprinter, though, keep in mind. And Philly typically ends in a sprint finish.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
the one with the big wall you have to climb multiple times.
that's the Maniac Wall. I can't remember how many times we do it. It's 10 times up the Maniac Wall on the big circuits.
And what's that
Then
wall like, just for folks who've never been up it? Like, what is it equivalent to sort of in this area?
it's equivalent to going to like a Metallica concert in terms of volume. You know, all you can, all you can like experience is just your ears, you know, doing their thing. And it's loud. It's
Well,
loud. It's steep. It goes on for a lot longer than you remember it from the year prior. It's one of those climbs that's just like in your face and harder than you remembered.
All right. So last lap, what happens?
Okay, so last lap, anyways, we do the small circuits around Lemon Hill. That takes you to the start finish zone. We're doing laps around the start finish zone, and going into the penultimate corner into the straightaway, I am on the lead out train for Mark Cavendish, and I think it was Andre Greipel for T-Mobile. Okay, I'm on this lead out train. I do not belong there. Like, my race should have been kind of over, but I just have, I have Jonas screaming in my ear, like, go, go, go. And like, I'm like, all right, I'll go. Cause at the end of a 260-kilometer race, I could probably put in a pretty good sprint. That's a pretty good sprint. Cause I'm just not as tired as the other people are,
Yeah.
you know?
And we're like 5-6 hours into this, right? 7
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
I mean,
5 or 6 hours in,
okay.
it goes by pretty quick. So coming out of the second to last corner, out of the roundabout, my front wheel gets taken out by a T-Mobile rider who is dropping back from the lead out train.
Oh,
So we're going, you can only imagine how fast we're going, and going into a flat sprint finish. And I go down, and I don't normally, you slide a little and like, or bounce off the pavement. My collarbone pretty much just disintegrated into the pavement. Yeah. I broke my left collarbone in 8 different pieces.
I
Uh,
shattered it.
I shattered it. And so that was really bad. That pretty much effectively ended my career. I was not the same rider again
Wow.
after that happened.
I mean, I've known you on and off for years. I never knew that story. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's really unfortunate. It sounded like you came really close to touching the sun and like, getting that win. Oh man, crazy. So then I guess that takes us to Richard Sachs.
Yeah. So, Richard, had a really good cyclocross team, and we were friends. We were friends first and foremost.
Mhm.
So he took me on as a cross rider basically when I got started getting back into racing, and the second time around. And, the takeaways I got from racing with Richard were that, well, first of all, I got to maintain my own equipment again, which was awesome. And we traveled a lot. We had a lot of fun. Richard always put us up in really nice hotels and made sure everything was taken care of in terms of registration. It was like a little mini Team Saeco.
That's
Everything
cool.
was super well structured, well thought out, well funded, great sponsors. And I just had fun racing my bike. Richard didn't put any pressure on me. And I got to see what could happen when I didn't have a lot of pressure on me. And so that was a really nice, like, I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, well, I remember just those years. A friend of mine, I'm not sure if you guys overlap, but Matt Kraus was on that team. And I just remember you guys just had a blast and everyone did so well. And you guys like were the fan favorites.
Yeah, well, everyone loves Richard, and yeah, Matt, yeah, we would show up to some races and sweep the podium
Wow.
between myself or Matt, John Hamblin, and myself.
Yep. Wow. Okay, so before we get on to wheel building, because we're already quite a ways into this podcast, are you still racing today?
I will race my bike only if it goes up a mountain. Like, and I will not do anything that's high speed
Okay,
because I do not want to crash again.
got it. So the uphill races you'll do. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I'm
That's
limiting
awesome.
my risk. I will race uphill, and this has been a long time coming because I didn't really do any sort of serious riding for over a decade when I
Wow.
stopped racing. I focused on my business,
Yep.
and that was my priority.
And so last question on this topic is there any result looking back on that you're most proud of?
It was probably, I mean, my highest profile result was probably in the Tour of Austria when I got, like, I think fifth on the mountaintop finish stage and fourth overall or something like that. I was top 5 in the
Wow.
Tour of Austria. So that was a big deal for me. That meant I belonged in the World Tour. But the most fun I had was racing for Richard, and I won a UCI cyclocross race, which was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which one was
And
that?
that was North Carolina Grand Prix.
Awesome.
And the other cool thing I want to mention, I know we're pressed for time here a little bit, but I also won a pro mountain bike race like a couple years after I stopped, quote unquote, stopped racing. I still did some mountain biking stuff. And I won one of the endurance cross country races, the New Hampshire 100. So I was just doing local races,
Jeez.
but the show came to New Hampshire, and I broke the course record, and I beat everyone there by like 15 or 20 minutes. And Tinker Juarez was there too, so it was really fun to say that I
Wow.
beat Tinker Juarez in a mountain bike race. So I won races in all three disciplines of
That's
cycling. So really experienced and well-rounded cyclists
well, and here's the
race.
thing, Justin. Like you've been riding with some of the local groups like Conti's and the Rippers, and I would guess that probably 90% of them have no idea that they're riding next to this incredible specimen of a cyclist. You're so humble.
They don't know. They don't know.
We can keep it that way. So, all right. So, when did you get the idea to get into wheel building and starting your own company?
Okay, so well, when I was a young racer, I was racing on the wheels that I built. So I was already familiar with the process of building a bicycle wheel. Okay, fast forward, huge. I raced on so many different types of wheels when I was a pro through all kinds of conditions, and had my own, and was really in tune with the design of things, of the different wheels that I raced on, and just really super curious. And I couldn't imagine doing a normal job after I'd been a bike racer for 10 years. And I really wanted to carve out something for myself. So I was a good mechanic, and I had an eye for design, and I wanted to combine my skills into selling custom bicycles, designing and selling custom bicycles. So I started out doing that, and I got a demand. I wanted to build the wheels that were on the bicycles too, because I wanted to do as much of this myself as possible. I got a demand for the wheels I was building.
What year was this? Are we talking like 2010?
Yeah, 2010 was the first year of Luxe Wheelworks.
Okay.
And I was building carbon fiber wheels, custom carbon fiber wheels, which back in 2010 was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I taught myself how to work with carbon fiber, how to build a high quality wheel. But more, I'll stress the fact that I was not building. It was not just building a wheel. It was learning how to build wheels, like a production. With orders and timelines and sourcing parts, quoting,
I mean, you're
shipping.
building a business basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
So, I mean, so Lux Wheelworks, it's sort of restarting. Is that what you would say? Like, what's happening? Because I see it more and more often now. Like, just the logo. I see you guys on social media. Like, when did it sort of restart? I guess, or rebrand?
this summer. So I've been doing engineering technician work for the last few years. I mean, I was wheel engineer at Le Mans Bicycles. I wanted to move back to New England because I missed it so much. I needed a higher paying job because it's very expensive to live here. So I went to work in technology as an engineering technician at a lithium ion battery manufacturer. Okay, so I was assembling our custom next generation prototype battery manufacturing equipment there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I learned a lot. It was my first real 9 to 5 job. I learned a lot about engineering because I was working directly with the engineers there. Um,
So, did you essentially quit that job in the last few months?
yeah, yes. I don't know how to put this. There was a big layoff at the company. They lost their funding, and at the same time, I kind of wanted to. I felt like I had enough skill and confidence to restart Lux. So it kind of just all mushed together into this decision slash idea to take my savings, just like I did the first time, and restart Lux.
So, what's different this time?
Okay, a
Both
lot.
like in your vision, maybe in the product. Like, what's different?
Well, the vision isn't different. I want to build the best possible wheels. Like, I want to build the best wheels. And the approach is different. I learned during the course of my last 15 years to finally ask for help from people.
Yep.
So I asked for help, and I have the most amazing team behind me now to see this project through. I have a former CFO running my finances. I have a very talented mechanical engineer helping me with my engineering and quality control.
Nice.
I have Diamond Dust doing some graphic design for me. There's more to come for that. And I have even my friend who's a lawyer helping me with any sort of legal things that may come
Yeah,
up.
contracts or whatnot. Or so okay. So what exactly are you making? You're making road wheels. Like what materials? What types of wheels? Can you tell the audience what you're doing there?
Well, after my experience, I can basically do anything when it comes to a bike wheel. I mean, in terms of repairs, new builds with any sort of different material for any sort of application. But however, what I'm focusing now on is having a product that people they can customize some things like the colors and spoke finish and the depth of profile of rim that they want. But I'm basically honing in on a product that people can purchase and not have to wait months for. Okay, I'm still going to do the custom wheels, but that will come at a premium and at a longer lead time.
Got it.
So I have this new website being built with online checkout, drop down menus. Should be live, I don't know, in a couple months, but I want to be ready to go for spring 2026.
Fantastic. Well, so will I be able to pick like the depth of my wheel and the hub that I want to use?
Short answer is yes. Yep, yep. I have a couple very interesting hub options. One of them is White Industries, made in California. Reputable, storied brand, high quality product, comes in different colors,
Nice.
which people, they love to pick their colors. I love to pick different color hubs. I think it's super fun, really nice materials. The other hub that I'm working with are Onyx. They use a Sprag clutch, which basically offers instant engagement and no noise while freewheeling.
Really? I thought noise was cool.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the super loud hubs, and I think the market is trending towards
Yeah.
more of a toned down.
So does that mean they don't have like pawls to engage?
Correct. It's a Sprag. It's called what's called a Sprag clutch, and basically it's these bunch of like little like let's just call them levers that when the hub engages, they catch on the hub shell and they propel the wheel forward. And when you coast, they just kind of like float inside of there.
Wow.
And
That's
there's no
cool.
noise. Yeah.
That's awesome. So is there any secret sauce? Like why would someone buy your wheels versus a set of zips or some other wheels? Like why should we buy Luxe wheels?
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I say is because I'm building them. They're done by an experienced wheel builder. But most importantly, even more important than that, they're done by a human being. And I say that in a way that machines cannot replicate the manufacturing process that a human can when it comes to building bicycle wheels. Because bicycle wheels, a good one, the spokes need to be stress relieved. And if you don't stress relieve spokes, the spokes will come loose, the wheel will come out of true, and then the wheel will fail.
Interesting.
So machine built wheels, they cannot retool during the process in a way that would allow them to do that. So I stress relieve my wheels throughout the course of the build. And another thing is high and even spoke tension. I build my wheels within the highest acceptable range from the manufacturer, and the spoke tension is even. And I can prove that because I now have data. I have a custom QC program that my engineer built
Mm-hmm.
that will plot on a graph spoke tension.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is really cool in both lateral and radial tolerances and spoke tension around the wheel around each individual spokes tension,
Wow.
which
Okay,
is
so
really
if
neat.
someone wants to buy your wheels today, can we do that? And how do we do that? And what's the lead time?
Okay, right now you need to contact me. You need to email luxewheelworks@gmail.com. We just need to have a short conversation. I will send you a quote. If you like the quote, you'll approve it. That will generate the quote into an invoice, and that gets the ball rolling. Once you pay, I can order materials, I can build the wheels, I can ship the wheels to you.
About how long?
Right now, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on
Oh,
the
nice.
design.
That's fantastic. Can you do wheels for riders that are over 200 pounds?
I can. I
Asking for a
can.
friend.
I can do that. No problem. I can build very strong. I put the emphasis on strong on my wheels. They need to last because we don't want failed equipment when we're out riding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
So what's the best thing that's happened since you've returned to Lux and started this new chapter?
Just um, a renewed sense of confidence that I can shape something and have a lifestyle goal that I can work towards and really like build my future in a way that I can control.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, plus I feel like you're building community too. Like I've already seen this Lux brand in a bunch of places just in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the community in New England is really something special. If it's ride with the Rippers every morning, Ripper Cycling Club, like almost every morning on the weekdays. I've done work with CCB as a technical advisor for their race team.
Great. The women's team?
Yep, I
Yeah.
started out with the men's team, and then like if Tim Mitchell at CCB ever needs any sort of racing tactic question answered, I'm happy to help him.
Oh, that's awesome. It seems like they're having a lot of success this year.
Yes, they are. They're having a huge amount of success. I hope to do more work with them in the future, actually.
Okay, so before we go, I just have a couple of rapid fire questions. So just quick answers from you, okay? What is your favorite New England road race for cycling?
Fitchburg Long Show.
All right, no longer exists, but we'll give it a shout out. What was your favorite cyclocross race?
Sterling.
Awesome. I love that race as well. What's just your favorite event in New England that happens every year?
Mount Washington.
Favorite place to ride?
The Monadnock area in New Hampshire.
Wow. Okay, so around Keene and Peterborough. That's great. And last question is what's your favorite local ride?
Rippers Wednesday morning hill rides.
Of course it is. Awesome, Justin. Thank you so much for spending the time today to tell us about your story, just your backstory, and about Lux and how you got into cycling and how you got into being an entrepreneur. I wish you nothing but the best. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Is there any final plug or anything you'd want to mention to our audience before we depart?
Thanks, Art, for having me on the show.
You're welcome. And you can check out Justin's Luxe Wheels at grupospinelli.net. Check it out. We will definitely tag you on our Instagram and on LinkedIn. And I hope you get a bunch of business. Until next time, get out there, keep pushing your limits, drop some hammers, and enjoy the beautiful terrain of New England. Thank you.